There's nowhere else like it.
I remember after my very first LSU game, I called my mom and I was like, you have to come to a game. Don't think she's ever had so much fun in her life.
They're just crazy about their sports, like the culture there. Like, it's so different than anywhere else.
And it's not just football.
Well, I got a scholarship there, and it was SEC tennis, which was a dream of mine.
Two women drawn to LSU by sports. One, an athlete. The other, an aspiring sports agent who interned in the football recruitment office. Both lived in the same apartment complex and went to LSU at the same time. Now, both are plaintiffs in a lawsuit alleging they and others survived sexual assaults and other sex crimes that LSU ignored to protect its money-making athletic programs.
I woke up completely naked.
I guess, like, the alcohol might have started to wear off.
One they say involves the same man.
Everything was super disheveled.
I have, like, flashes.
Derrius Guice was first publicly accused of the rape at LSU in a USAToday article.
Whenever I slept, they were at my place.
The couch was crooked, the rug was kind of curled, the coffee table was out of place.
Guice has not been arrested or charged in any alleged crimes at LSU.
Everybody always came to my house.
Brief flashes of he was on top of me, like, raping me.
Just to like have that word rape associated with my name just makes me cringe, bro.
I'm Samantha Brennan.
I'm Abby Owens.
Survivors of alleged sexual abuse almost always seek anonymity.
Today's the first day that I'm publicly disclosing my identity.
But these women testified before state lawmakers, knowing the potential backlash for accusing a homegrown star and the university they say protected him.
That's the reason I've spoken up this whole time. A, because Derrius Guice is still freely walking, and B, because LSU it's not a safe place for women at such a young, vulnerable age.
And I remember texting her and I was like, is it just me or do we look like a lot alike? And she's like, no, we look like sisters. It's terrifying.
Sam tracked down Abby last year after reading about her alleged rape in this USA Today article. Each met Guice at a bar in Tigerland. This was Sam the night she met Guice. This was Abby just 20 nights later. Both say they were already intoxicated when they met him and near blackout drunk when they left with him.
I was like, oh, it's Derrius Guice, like, kind of starstruck.
I was a little starstruck, I guess.
And I remember him telling me that he knew who I was, because I mean, I was a student athlete. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
I haven't really met anybody famous.
I remember he kept, like, buying me shots of Patron.
He, like, bought me a shot, and then we had to go.
In both cases, what happened next is a blur. Their memories were fogged by alcohol and emotional trauma, but they both say Derrius Guice came to their apartments.
I woke up completely naked, and then I walked out of my bedroom and into my living room, and everything was like super disheveled.
Remember, Guice says in his Twitter video, he never went to anyone else's house.
Whenever I slept, they were at my place. I never even really went to anyone's house, let alone a female's house. Everybody always came to my house.
But this text suggests otherwise. Sam says Guice contacted her the next morning looking for his wallet.
I was stuck between my couch cushions. It had his license in it.
The alleged text from Guice goes on to tell her he was in her apartment. She responds she was too drunk to remember. She doesn't accuse him of anything at first, but according to the lawsuit, all that soon changed.
And so this girl pulled me aside and was like, hey, and she just told me like point blank, like, hey, there's the naked photo of you going around the football team.
In her lawsuit, her coworker told her to tell their boss, who then brought in Miriam Seeger, the then assistant athletic director. Seeger encouraged Sam to tell LSU police, where the officers surprised her.
But he was like, I really hope you press charges. Like, I really want you to press charges.
Still, the aspiring sports agent declined to press charges.
If I'm coming in and taking down a big star in my first couple months, I just feel like that would be an automatic career ender.
Sam did, however, want to document what happened and warn the school about Guice's behavior. 13 days later, Abby would meet Guice at the bar.
Was it obvious that you were drunk at that point?
Later on in the night, Absolutely. Like, there's a photo of me sitting on the ground, like in a parking lot with a stray dog.
She said Guice took her home and then texted her.
All I remember reading was, like, he asked to come over. I said, sure, but nothing's gonna happen. I don't even remember him getting into my apartment.
If you have no recollection, how do you know you were raped and raped by him?
I guess, like, the alcohol might have started to wear off, like I wasn't drinking anymore. And so I have, like, brief flashes of, like, it actually happening.
In her lawsuit, Abby clearly states she was raped.
What do you remember?
I just have a memory of, like, my head being pushed down to give him oral. And then I have a memory of us, I guess he was on top of me, like, raping me.
And this is a state in which you must have your faculties to give consent. You were in no capacity to give consent. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely not.
Unlike Sam, however, Abby didn't tell authorities. She'd ultimately tell her therapist and her dad, leaving school for rehab 10 months later.
When you heard it was Derrius Guice.
Doesn't matter to me who it is. You know, somebody raped my daughter. I don't care who it is. I don't care what his name is.
Dan Owens is Abby's dad. He said the alleged rape explained his daughter's devastating decline and ultimate removal from the tennis team.
Alcohol and then a failed drug test. I was just crying for help everywhere, and I was like, someone please notice that I'm not okay. And yeah.
Abby's dad wanted to warn others about the star football player. He approached Abby's former tennis coach.
She looked at me and square in the eye. She goes, I do not believe her.
I was so just, like, hurt, because that was a big reason why I never spoke up, was because I was scared that I wouldn't be believed.
She says for that reason, she never went to police, and the school never came to her. She left in 2017. In 2020, after reading about the LSU scandal, she checked to see if there was a Title IX report, something the school is required to file if there are allegations of sexual misconduct.
She said that there was no record, but that there was a mention that I may have been assaulted. And no one ever investigated, no one ever followed up, no one ever called me.
Title IX is often associated with female scholarships. It's designed to even the playing field in college sports, but it's also designed to protect students from sexual misconduct.
This is an abject failure at LSU.
Karen Trzowski is one of a handful of attorneys nationwide who works almost exclusively on Title IX cases. Trzowski now represents Abby, Sam, and more than a half dozen other students in a lawsuit against LSU for allegedly violating their Title IX rights.
They were forcing them to make decisions without knowing what their options were.
But remember, Sam said the LSU higher-ups in whom she'd confided encouraged her to file a police report.
So they're encouraging you to go after the person that many victims are now saying the school was trying to protect. So in what way did LSU let you down?
Looking back, I'm pretty sure it was like, do I want to go through the Title IX process or just have it handled in-house?
Believing hers was an isolated incident and not wanting to jeopardize a future career as a sports agent, she chose in-house.
Would you say there's an inherent conflict when it's handled in-house?
I would say so, yes. That's how people get away with repeated instances, and there's no record of it when they do it a second or third or fourth time.
Meanwhile, Derrius Guice is facing charges of domestic abuse in Virginia.
It makes me mad to think about all the other victims that came after me and Sam.
LSU has publicly accepted some responsibility for the way in which it's handled Abby and Sam's cases and other cases of alleged sexual misconduct on campus. It hired a law firm, Hush Blackwell, to investigate and suspended personnel and erased Guice's football stats.
That Hush Blackwell report, to me, is more victimizing than anything else thus far. I mean, they left out 90% of my story.
LSU promises to make its campus a safer environment, but it's not enough for Sam and Abby.
People need to go, people need to get fired, because they've upheld this tragically flawed system for so long.
The court will ultimately decide what happens at LSU. As for Sam and Abby, they've charted their own futures. Abby recently graduated from the University of Georgia, and Sam told us she's thinking of going back to school and becoming a Title IX attorney. Karen Swenson, Eyewitness News.